Hello, everyone, and good morning. This is Jay from ChainSafe. For anyone who is not familiar, ChainSafe is a research and development firm focused on blockchain protocols. We help as core contributors to Ethereum, Avalanche, Filecoin, and many more networks. We also manage web developer tools. And today we're going to talk with innovative game teams in our series of game talks that we've been doing for the past few weeks. Today we have Hayder, who will come on stage. He is from Whalepass and Discover Games. Discover Games is a platform where you can discover both Web2 and Web3 games, help deploy back-end systems for your games, and enable people to build these into their video games. So with that said, I'd like to bring Hayder on the stage to welcome you and say good morning. Hello, Hayder. How are you?
Hello. How's it going? Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Pretty well, having a good day, just starting off. It's always great to see you. I know we've been in talk for a few months with Whalepass and looking for ways for us to coordinate. So it's great to have you on stage here.
Yes, likewise. Happy to be here. Always happy to be chatting with you guys. You and Martin are phenomenal people, and I'm always happy to collaborate with you guys.
Thanks. I really appreciate that. So now going into Web3, it's a weird space. A lot of people discover it in different ways, and you're in a very particular niche, which is Web3 gaming. So I'd love to get into a bit of your background and to learn about how you got started in this space.
Yeah, for sure. So I've always been a gamer since I can ever remember. So I cannot explain that one, how that happened, but there was a lot of computers in my house and there was games on them, and I was always playing games. So there's that. About Web3 though, so I was a software engineer back in Austin, Texas, and during that time, like 2017, 2018, I remember the first hype amongst myself and my coworkers started about the blockchain, and Ethereum was just getting known back then. I went ahead and started learning a bunch of different things about it. I joined the course and learned how to write my first smart contract. Then I started applying around and actually got a job at Consensus, and that was my first remote job. So a lot of different things happened in my life. My life drastically changed in 2018. I turned from being just a regular software engineer to being a Consensus employee, whatever you want to explain that as, but it was something else. So of course, like it became more entrepreneurial. Like you cannot just write code anymore. You have to think about like what this code is going to do, where the industry is at, what the ecosystem is like. You have to participate in hackathons and get to do some business development. And that was like the start of it all. And since then, things have really 10x. Like I've probably do like more product management than anything else nowadays. I do still write code. And I do a whole lot of business development as well. But yeah, just to backtrack a little bit. So ETH Denver is coming up. This is going to be my third ETH Denver, but the first one I attended is where I actually participated in the hackathon, then started growing the project within Consensus. Then we ended up spinning it out. It's still running nowadays. It's called Community Gaming. So communitygaming.io is a esports platform. My old co-founder is still running it, and I think they're still doing a whole lot of different tournaments, especially for Axie. They're the home of Axie. It's always been that way. So since that time, we ended up raising a Series A. Things were going really well, but then I realized that this space is really large and there's a whole lot to do here. So decided to resign and start a new company, and we called it Whalepass. So with Whalepass, we understood that there is a relationship between the live ops and questing platforms, and we wanted to explore that a bit further. But yeah, I can continue talking about Whalepass now, or maybe I should pause there.
Yeah, so it was great to hear your introduction. In 2017, that's around when I was looking at Ethereum too. I remember reading the white paper, recording myself on YouTube with a few friends, trying to figure out like where is this all going. It's kind of mind blowing that at that point in time, you were already thinking about games, about the implications. And I didn't even know that Consensus was working on something in that space. I have so many friends that went into Consensus. They're now part of different organizations in Web3. So it's definitely a lot of place where people start and kind of venture into their careers. And
Yeah,
it's
we were a very small circle. The gaming circle was just like 3 or 4 people, and we were underfunded. And we were always hoping that we would get more attention from Joe, but Joe Lubin, the CEO. But like then different things changed, and we were happy enough that we were able to spin out the one gaming spoke that was in Consensus.
Yeah, that's a really cool journey, and it's awesome to see that you're still going with Whalepass, considering that transition. So now let's get into Discover Games and Whalepass. So what inspired the creation of it? You were early on in there, understanding the technology, realizing the implications for gaming far beyond most people. So how does it aim to bridge the gap between Web2 and Web3 gaming? And what inspired that creation?
Yeah, for sure. So just to backtrack a little bit, one thing to note that's really important is that I did not come from a gaming background. I came from a technical background and then jumped into esports. Sure, esports and gaming are very related, but they're not the same, especially not the same as game development. So what we really needed to do, my new co-founder and I, my new co-founder is even more technical than I am. He is the current CTO of Whalepass and Discover Games. So I needed to wear the rest of the hats and try to write a lot less code. And that's what I've been doing. Like we came into the market after we built Whalepass. We integrated a few different games, and with those games, we made it easier for them to have better engagement and provide a more interesting relationship for player retention. Um, but that was not enough because there was a lot of different tools that are doing the same thing out there in both Web2 and Web3 gaming. So we needed to go back and go to a whole lot of different conferences and try to understand the gaming space from a different angle. Like, we're not just users anymore. We are on the business side now. Like, we're not just playing games. Although I do still very much play a lot of games. So we joined maybe 6 or 7 different events over the past year. And one was, and actually 2, Dev Connect and a smaller one here in the area. We joined back in 2023 when we first started all this. And from those, we understood that robust tooling for games is not something that the ecosystem, the gaming ecosystem lacks. There's a whole lot of that going on, and they're very good tools, and there are a plethora of them. So the way I would like to describe Whalepass nowadays, like where it really stands out, is that its simplicity is what makes it really stand out, not the fact that it's unique or that it does something that other tools don't. But now this is a good segue to Discover Games. So from going to those conferences, we understood that there is a serious problem with game discovery. There is a whole lot of games that are being um, they're being released on Steam on a daily basis. I think I can share this video with you. I'll maybe even comment it on the thread on Twitter. Um, this guy downloaded a whole lot of different Steam games data from 2024 and made a bunch of different analysis about it. And there are 70 games on average being released on a daily basis in 2024, just on Steam. So this is not even the entire gaming. This is not even the entire PC gaming. This is just Steam. So you can imagine that probably whatever we can do with Discover Games is going to benefit the like, as long as our mission is to get games discovered, is to get the word out there about games, is going to be beneficial to the gaming ecosystem and the gaming industry. So yeah, we decided that like it makes a lot of sense for us to focus on indie games, especially the ones that are coming out on PC, and to also allow for a small room for web games. And inside of those web games, you will see that there is a lot of different integrations with Whalepass. So if you go to the play games section on Discover Games, you will realize that, okay, from within the game, it will guide you back to Discover Games because it's hooked up to that API in the background, and you can manage your inventory inside of there. So it gives you a glimpse of what we want to build. And, the vision is really large, but it takes time to really get there. So right now you can just kind of get an idea, but slowly but surely we'll get to like what we want to actualize.
Yeah, it's definitely a big challenge to overcome. I mean, Steam has been around for a while now, and there's a sense that they have a monopoly over this market. It's either basically you're distributing through Steam or you have a mobile game and you're going through Apple or Google Play, but you basically have those three distribution channels. And most people I know that have no idea how to even search for it in the game, or even aware that there's full communities building games together that they're deploying on things like itch.io, other platforms that they're unaware of. Personally, I discover a lot of indie games just because of my TikTok feed. I kind of like trained it so that I'm looking at
yeah. Same.
So that's how I'm discovering games.
Right. Yeah, and that's a really good way. And I'll give a story about that. So do you know the game Lethal Company? It got really famous last year.
Yeah,
it's an awesome
Everyone's
game.
Screaming. Yeah.
So I enjoy playing that with my friends, and it was developed by one person, and he's only 21 years old, at least at that time. So what really helped that guy? Well, first, he's a really talented developer. The game is amazing. It ran great. But the other thing is that he was already having a following on Twitter. And that allowed for him to get the word out there quickly about his game. But not everybody's able to do that. Not everyone is going to have that following. We want to provide this co-op service. Okay, maybe it's not going to scale for 500 games at once, but per month, if we can make 5 or 10 different awesome games stand out from the crowd, that's a win. That's a win for us, and that's a win for the game. And just imagine it like this, like, whatever, I believe his name is Zekers, whatever Zekers had at that time, we can just give it to different game developers at different periods, and we can rinse and repeat. That's like really what we're trying to do. We want to do it with our social media. We want to do it with our Discord. We have a Discord bot. We have a Telegram bot. We have the right connections in place. We have different ways in which you can integrate with the backend service to set up challenges. And one thing to backtrack here is that we're not competing with Steam, man. Like, Epic Games tried that, and they're throwing, like, Tim Sweeney's throwing serious money at that, and that's been years. So that's crazy for us to attempt. We actually, I'm a personal, fanboy of Gaben. I've been a Steam fanboy my whole life. I've played all their games. I own all their gadgets. The company is questionable nowadays, that's for sure, but they're not in a position to be disrupted. So we're working with the fact that Steam is here to stay. So actually, this week or next week, we're going to be releasing retail functionality with a few different game publishers. But that retail functionality will allow you to just get a Steam key. That's it. You will get the Steam key, and you can pay with crypto to get it. You can pay with fiat if you want. You can pay with the gold system that we have, with the gold points. It's up to you. But afterwards, you can just go back to Steam because that's what exists and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, definitely. So there's two things I want to highlight there. Is one that a lot of people do give Steam some, they kind of complain a lot about it, but I would say that one thing that is beneficial is that you can generate Steam keys, sell them on other platforms, retain that revenue. I don't think a lot of people are aware of that. And I've been waiting for a platform to come around to actually sell to crypto holders because we have a huge community. They tend to overlap a lot with gamers. They have a lot of money on chain. You know exactly how much money in some cases they have on chain, but you have no product or service to offer them directly with their crypto in most cases. So this is a huge leap in onboarding in my experience, and I've been waiting around for people to actually buy access keys with crypto.
Awesome. All right, I'll send you the link as soon as it's out. I wanna give you some Steam keys with your crypto. And yeah, I've been wondering the same thing. Like what I've done in the past is like purchase a Steam gift card, and I think a bunch of different people have done that. There's different providers for it, but there is no supported way to buy a game directly with crypto. Sure, I've seen different examples like a Kingwin, on those gray market providers, where you can buy a game with like Lightning Network, but man, like that's not it. That's not the thing that people are waiting for. We want to see stable coins in there. We want to see like some meme coins. Maybe with your Trump tokens, you can just throw them in there, and you can get the next lethal company. Let's see where that goes. But the reception has been good from the game publishers. We're just finalizing a few different deals in there, but we should be out with like directly selling around 30 to 50 games on day one, and those are coming directly from the game publishers.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really great to hear. I've been at several different conferences in the past year, and I actually pitched a similar idea to game publishers.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear a single person kind of say no. They all expressed interest and they wanted to explore it because really you take your same game, now you have access to a whole new market that's been sitting there with money waiting to play games. So it just makes sense in my mind. I'm glad you're going that way. But I think it's a good opportunity now to transition to our next question, which is you're dealing with Web2 users, you're dealing with Web3, especially now that you're going to offer opportunities for them to buy with crypto. So how do you balance catering to these two audiences and like managing their expectations? And like some Web2 holders, like Web2 players, they don't necessarily like Web3. So like how are you balancing those two audiences?
Yeah, so I can say this, man, it's really hard. It's really, really hard. But it's easier than it used to be. That hate that gamers had for and rightfully so, man. That whole NFT weird stuff that was going on, that really tricked a lot of different gamers, and it was just not ethical. And it made sense why that negative view happened. But since then, things have gotten better. And right now, crypto is mainstream, at least in the US. I think it's pretty much mainstream. And there's not going to be anybody out there that's going to be okay, like this is bad for the environment and those myths that we used to hear anymore. So at least that's gone. But it's still really difficult. The really good thing that I like about our team is that since back at community gaming, we were all focused on being pragmatic. And as long as you're looking at yourself as a business that is utilizing crypto, not you are a crypto company that's looking for business, then the users will get a natural journey. And if you go to Discover Games right now, we don't ask you, you don't even see anything that mentions on chain or token or anything like that, but it's all in there. If you go through the process, if you go and actually utilize the system, man, you're going to get degent eventually, but we don't put it in your face, and that is the right way of doing it. I remember, like, I don't really get on stage all that much, but I did once, And I was exactly talking about this. So we call this idea sneaky Web3. And since community gaming and now at Discover Games, we're doing the exact same thing. And even the Whalepass SDK and API, it just sneaks up on you. Like, you don't know where the tokens are coming from, but they're going to be there, and you're going to want to connect a wallet because you don't want to miss the tokens. We want to create that feeling. And as long as that feeling exists, and the user will really get rewarded at the end of the day, it's not, some BS thing that you're giving them, then they will not complain, and they will be happy to learn more about it.
Yeah, so I've definitely noticed the same sentiment in the past year. Is that a lot of people are more open to Web3. Web2 gamers, traditionally Web2 studios, they seem to be interested and excited about the technology, the new opportunities and unlocks. So I definitely felt that sentiment over the past year, and we're super excited going to next year because it seems like everyone wants to know how to do this. It's just, how do I get started? What tools are available? And that's a major reason why we hold this series. Cool. All right. So now.
Wait, you got muted, or
Oh,
did this
sorry
shut
about
off?
that.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the problem from me. Okay.
No, that was completely me. Sorry about that. So you mentioned a few standout features from Discover Games. What are some the features that you think apply to gamers, to developers, and what makes it the go-to platform for gamers and developers?
Yeah, for sure. So we already talked about the retail functionality, right? So this is one big thing, but it's going to start small, and it's going to become a lot more important, and eventually will lead into something else. But right now, if you go to Discover Games, you are going to be able to do four things. One is play. You're going to be able to play a bunch of different games. You're going to be able to engage with those games. Means getting some sort of reward for them. You can buy from the shop. You can buy items. You can buy gift cards. You can buy games and game keys directly. And you can also subscribe. And with that subscription, we've already seen a whole lot of different successful subscriptions out there. Some are rather expensive, like Humble Bundle, that's like $12 a month. Some I've seen are like, I think Gamivo's is like $1 per month. And we plan to be somewhere in the middle there. Once the traction is correct, we plan to roll that out. But let's backtrack a little bit. So what can you play? You can play Web3 games. You can play Discord games, because Discord games are actually just web games. You can play Telegram games, because Telegram games are just web games. You can play the games that come out of our game jams, and those are the most interesting, because then you're going to be able to get rewards from within that same system, and hopefully at some point we're going to have an integrated way for you to trade them and such. But those are ownable assets. You can go and trade them somewhere else if you want. There's a whole lot of different platforms for that. And so yeah, one thing to note here is that we're positioning ourselves really well for the return of web gaming. And A16Z Speedrun, they talked about that quite a bit. There is a whole lot in terms of technology, in terms of interest, in terms of timing as well. There is a place for the return of web games, and the fact that you can now publish them to different platforms, especially Discord. Discord is just gigantic, especially on Discord. Like, if you're a game developer, you can develop a game, put it on Discord, put it on your website, put it on Discover Games and different sites that are similar to Discover Games that can just host web games. And, that's a lot of discovery. Maybe your game will be played a whole lot more than on Steam, where you can just get lost between 70 different people. But, those are different markets and different things there. But we'll see how things are going to work afterwards. So the next thing that you can do there is engage. So this is the biggest section that you notice on Discover Games when you go there. It's even a different color. It's there to be highlighted. So you could go and wishlist some games on Steam. And those are games that are coming from folks that we partner with. You can play some games that we would like to promote. Maybe they came out of our game jam, or maybe they were really being again promoted by one of our partners. And for that, as a user, what I get are gold points, and each one of these challenge or quests, they have a certain amount of gold points that are attached to each one, and then I can go and spend that inside of the shop, where I can buy loot boxes that can give me different rewards, that can give me tokens inside. I could get the grand prize of a $5 Steam gift card. I could get some Polygon, some Avalanche. I could get some meme coins like Pepe and others. And very soon it will also be able to contribute to the discount that will be applied when I would buy a game. And then that would be the other thing that you can do. You can buy, and in the hopefully near-term future, you can also subscribe and be able to be treated every start of every month with a bunch of different games, with a bunch of different assets of those games to come to your mail, to come to your Discord at the start of every month, so you can go and do interesting things with them. Yeah.
It's a really awesome. There's a lot of cool features that you've implemented. There's a really cool loop that you've created with indie developments going onto your platform, people discovering it, them being incentivized to do that, then coming back to spend those reward points back onto your platform. So amazing loop. It works really well. And I just wanted to comment more on the community that you're cultivating, because for me, it was mind blowing. We've been speaking for the past few months, and you invited me to be a judge at one of your game jams. And I was really shocked at how well developed those games were, how complex they were, how they integrated your platform pretty seamlessly. And it was all done within a few days. And some of the games I was playing, to me, were like fully fledged out games, even though they were done in a couple of days. And I found myself playing there for a few hours, just like actually enjoying the experience. So you're definitely cultivating an amazing community.
Yeah, thanks. I was also really surprised, and what's really amazing there, I noticed that a lot of the different game developers came back. We hosted 2 game jams so far. We have a few more in the pipeline, maybe one with you guys, and yeah, they would come back, and the difference that you see from the first game jam to the second game jam is amazing, and that really goes out to speak to the amount of how well um, the tools, how well developed the tools out there are that help a game developer create games. They're really well polished, and people can make some amazing games quite easily. They just need to spend time on it, and they need to be rewarded along the process. That's why game jams are really important. And as long as we find some sort of loop that benefits us as well, then hopefully we'll be able to continue running more and more game jams. And yeah, you noticed a few different games that you really liked. If anybody's listening to this, hop over to Discover Games right now. You will notice a few that are in the challenges section. Play those, and there's a comment section, although small. Let us know what you think about it. I am super curious, but I was really surprised about those games. They are really high quality. Now, one more thing. So you also mentioned that they were able to utilize our tools. So a lot of those game publishers, the game developers, they have no idea what a backend system is like, what a database is. It's like a front-end developer and a backend developer. It's exactly the same thing. The game is just a front end. What happens on the server side, they oftentimes never engage with it. And what we are doing with the Whalepass SDK and API, those are backend tools. So asking a lot of those game developers to go and integrate that is going to confuse them. And this is what we realize over and over again, is that they don't know what an API is. They never heard of an HTTP post or HTTP GET. So it quickly became understandable for us that we need an SDK if we need to be able to capture those developers. So we now have a Unity SDK and we have a Godot SDK. Actually, the Godot SDK was created by the community. Shout out to the community for that. Those guys are amazing for developing it. So now these guys, they come and they complain. They're developers. They're gonna complain. It's fine. So they come and they complain on the Discord, but then we share a bunch of resources with them. Like, here is the tutorial, here's a video on how to do it, and just go through the experience. It's really easy. The developer dashboard experience is super easy. So they go through it. Few hours later, they come back and it's integrated into their game. That's what I want to kind of go back what I mentioned earlier in the podcast. Our tool, the Whalepass developer dashboard, is not something that is going to be groundbreaking in terms of technology or anything like that, but I would say it is groundbreaking in terms of how easy it is to give out rewards to a player from within any game. I created like a simple Worms game I also published Discover Games, just like the example game that we give out to the different game developers during the game jams. And I noticed that it's super simple. Like, it's really simple to just call a bunch of different API calls, and boom, we now have live ops integrated into this game.
Yes, I've definitely noticed that from being in your Discord server. I see people ask the question about implementation, and then a couple hours later, they're actually having deployed. So it's amazing to actually see that process. And the other thing is, if I deploy my own point system, like, no one's going to really care. But the fact that I have a chance to reward you in something that you can use on a platform for other games to discover and use in a bigger ecosystem, that is a huge value add that a lot of games couldn't achieve on their own.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Now, you mentioned subscriptions, and those are doing really well. Your SDK integrations, you're doing a lot of stuff with indie games. They're starting to grow and get discovered. So can you share some success stories or feedback you received from developers or players using the platform?
For sure. So a lot of people really like the grand prize of $5 Steam gift card. I will say that. So we do hear that feedback quite a bit. But they're also, I will say that they find it challenging sometimes to link their wallet for the first time and things like that. And, there are different ways in the future for us to make that easier. But where I want to really focus here is what we did for two different game developers. So one was a game called Zombies. They are on Moonbeam, and we're kind of part of the Moonbeam ecosystem as well. In a way, we did receive a grant from them, and we've worked on them for a few different things. So with Zombies, we were able to distribute their token to a whole lot of different players, which would have been otherwise impossible. They had a partnership with us. We promote their game, and they give us this token. And with this token, we just have to give out as much of it as possible. And overall, that was a win-win. And these guys were able to get tens of thousands of players in their game with tokens already inside of their wallets, which would have been otherwise impossible. The other one that I would like to highlight is that we got millions of views on one of the media of a marketing agency that was promoting a game. So the marketing agency was working with us for a traditional Web2 game. And they gave us the content. We put it on our social media. We promoted it. We were able to get millions of views on that video. And also we got tens of thousands of players that came to the page of that game. So what's really happening there for both Zombies and for that game is that it's a win-win and win, like The Office, like win, win, win. We win, the game developer wins, and the player wins. So it's the start of something that is still in very early stages, but definitely it's been super interesting, and the feedback that we got from those folks has been very positive.
That's awesome to hear. There's a lot of great traction there, a lot of game seeing success. So that's great feedback. And yeah, I think you're taking an awesome approach. So now, Whalepass offers a plug and play backend for game developers. I know you've touched on it about integrating it. If there's anything you missed, or this is our opportunity to like dive a bit deeper, can you explain how it works and the key problems it solves for developers?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. We talked about it a little bit. One thing I want to bring back here is the sneaky Web3 aspect, because we're using that in the integration as well. So we don't have our own chain. We are multi-chain. The game developer can come and choose whatever chain they want to have and deploy the assets there. The assets, the way in which we deploy them, they're just 1155s, and they're just basically like I wouldn't call them quote unquote NFTs. They are NFTs, but they're not quote unquote NFTs, right? Because there are many others that are like them. But what you end up doing if you're deploying your assets on chain with the Whalepass developer dashboard is you're going to be able to utilize the blockchain for its trade functionality. So now you have a backbone for your game that is more robust than any centralized platform out there. So, Steam Marketplace is awesome, but this is better. This is a whole lot better because you're not paying the 30% trade fee, and every time a player will need to pay that again and again. You're not going to suffer from outages or maybe challenges to policies and things like that in the future. It's you and the player directly. So now the game developer, let's say they chose this chain, they deployed a bunch of different assets from within the game. Now they just have to create, like I'm just guiding somebody through the simplest fun experience for engagement that they can have. So they can say that if the player gets 3 headshots in this game, they will be able to get this hat. Now we created the hat, it's on chain. We create the challenge. Now we get this challenge ID. We get the challenge ID. We put it inside of the game with the SDK. And now every time a player is playing this game and they get that, they'll be able to get a claim to that. They wouldn't get the reward right away because we don't know much about this player yet, right? We know their player ID, and perhaps if there's a login system for that game, there's also some sort of security feature in there. But we don't know their wallet or anything like that, and we don't plan to generate wallets because that will drive up the cost for everybody, for the player, for the game developer, for everyone. So what's happening in the background is that there's just a claim for that player inside of our database. And at some point, depending on the game developer, they can put some button in the menu or maybe some other place in the game where they could just click on the Discover Games link. Now, what happens is this a unique identifier gets generated and they get redirected back to Discover Games with that identifier. And now they're able to actually claim the rewards that they got from within the game. So they already earned it a while back, but now the player is interested in doing something else with them and really have them in their wallet. They can do that as well. And on Discover Games, they can sign up. They can have their wallet linked, and they can go to their inventory and they can see all the stuff from within their inventory. And also they can go to OpenSea and they will be able to see that reward or OpenSea or on their MetaMask or whatever they're using. That's what I really like about what we built. It's easy for the player, it's easy for the developer. It's using latest technologies that are on chain, but without being annoying to anybody.
Yeah, that's definitely important. And what I noticed too, that as you were mentioning the features, the points, and all the opportunities for indie developers, is that like when I talk to new games about how to get in this space, it's about introducing concepts slowly to your community. And I think a lot of people have this impression that like I have to launch a crypto and now I'm dealing with this token and I have to build an economy around it. When I find that it's best to do the opposite, is to simulate some sort of economy, give people points that they can exchange at some sort of future date. And we saw a few games kind of unroll this concept and do it on their own. But what you've done is you've created an infrastructure for people to easily step into this space. So I think it's an awesome tool for indies to explore.
Yep, yeah, and I think there's markets for both of them. I don't know. Like last week, we saw the launch of Indie.Fun. I'm a huge fan of those guys. Like they're doing something that is super interesting. We kind of attempted to do that, but they did it in a way that is very appropriate for 2025. It's like that perfect amount of DJ. For that, yeah, you're going to be able to launch a token for your game, and it's going to have the liquidity right away. So there's a use case for that, but there's also a use case just like you described, where you can build slowly and you can have, and maybe there's a place that is kind of like in the middle where the two worlds can intersect, and we're kind of trying to explore that.
Yeah, honestly, I saw what Indie.Fund is doing. They're going to be our guest next week. So that'll be an
Oh,
interesting
nice.
conversation. For me, that approach seems terrifying because I feel like I've studied this enough where I understand what it takes to run an economy and to build one from scratch. So that approach to me is terrifying. I know that immediately after launch, you just have millions of people complaining, like wanting to know your updates every second now from there on. And, from the moment you launch, just forever forward, you're always going to battle with balancing that economy. So to me, that approach is terrifying, but it's fascinating. And I do agree with you that it's the right time. That's sort of like pumping out tokens and then building communities around it. It's kind of the meta right now, especially with like pumped out fun and those things springing up. So it'll be interesting to watch this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And we're trying to actually refer a few of our game jam winners to do that because, hey, like people are spending money. Like your game looks amazing, especially there are some amazing games on Indie.Fun right now, but I really think like some of the games that were submitted to the game jam are way better than those. So I just said, okay, guys, this exists. Try to extract some money from it because people are spending. So try to go and take advantage of it. I know you guys can build upon it way more than somebody else can.
Yeah, I definitely advise game developers to do the same. They're especially Web2 game developers. I don't think a lot of people realize how much money is up for grabs in this space. And
Yeah,
if you can make a really great game, there's so much money up for grabs. You just need to get involved in the space.
definitely.
Cool. So now we spoke about transitioning people into the space. How does Discover Games and Whalepass envision driving mass adoption for blockchain-based games?
Well, I had a recent conversation with somebody that transitioned away from Web3 gaming to AI agents, although that person was in Web3 gaming for quite a while. And for him, it was a lot like, hey, like Web3 games never really existed. People were there just for the speculation. And now that we're just going for the speculation and going full degen like that, then why don't we just focus on it? So I'm really happy that this is happening, like this split, because I've always believed that there are way more interesting things that we can do in games if we don't focus on the speculation aspects of it. I mean, there needs to be like a healthy amount of everything in there. Like, let's take a look at Counter Strike, right? Like, that's the Web2 speculation game, right? That's being investigated by CoffeeZilla right now. Like, you can play Counter-Strike, you can have a ton of fun for over a decade and not realize that there's anything going on there that is about a token or about trading or about anything. But if you're that type of person and you dig for it, you're going to find it. I hope we are going to be able to set something up like that, and that will be the pattern that others will follow. And I really think, like, once things are, subtle and I don't know, like, not trying to put tokens in front of people's faces, especially for PC gamers, then this is what's going to resonate with the players, and that's when they're going to call up their friends, and that's when organic growth will happen.
I'm excited for that time. I think it's kind of on the horizon, so it'll be interesting to welcome everyone into the space. Now, we work with a lot of Web2 studios that are unfamiliar with the space. What do you think that maybe traditional gaming platforms can learn from Web3 gaming, and maybe vice versa?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that I realized that is so easy for Web3 games is being able to grow. Like, they can grow massively and they can attract so many players. Like, that's the one thing that Web3 games really excels at. However, it's like, it's like a deal with the devil. You're going to bring in the same folks we just talked about. We're going to bring in these speculators. So some amount of that, where you're going to open up your economy to be used by other games, or it's going to be used by the players alone, or maybe, like, if you're a game publisher, like, why don't we just have, like, a game publisher that allows you to use the same tokens for each game that they release? That seems like a really good way to have interoperability without being too crazy about it. So this is what Web2 games I really think out to learn from Web3 games. That, like, you need to be able to reward your player in a meaningful way for them to stay. And what I think Web3 games needs to learn about Web2 games is that just be subtle. Like, just going back to my previous point, just be subtle about it. Don't, like, sure, being degen is fun and everything like that for that community, but if you're going to be going after regular players, you can't look at mobile games. You cannot look at, because that's a whole lot of different weird world that is busting right now. Casual games on mobile, they are not going to exist anymore. Like, people are talking about hybrid casual right now. I am not for that, man. Like, I don't think that will be successful either, or maybe it will be just for, like, a little bit of time, but it's not going to stay. And it's good that it's busting, because, like, if you think about mobile games, like, they can be just as fun as regular PC games. But it's just that industry that's around it that's spending millions of dollars on ads instead of making the game more fun. And it works. Everything checked out for them. Amazing. Now it's busting. Okay, let's build something new. And while we're building this new thing, let's look at successful examples that people will never forget about. Like, there are a lot of examples out there of games that have been so rewarding for players. Like, I don't want to be biased here, so I want to choose a game that I don't personally play. League of Legends. I'm a Dota guy. I'm not a League of Legends guy. League of Legends is a game that will never be forgotten. Let's try to copy that. Let's try to make something that resembles that.
Yeah, so a couple of interesting comments. I love the idea of highlighting growth. I think that is a major opportunity here, whether that's fundraising and you need to grow your finances within your gaming organization, or whether that's growing your community, giving them something early on, some rewards, things for them to come back to, and integrating them into your larger ecosystem. I think that's the point we're trying to drive home all year, is that there's a lot of growth opportunities within Web3 gaming, while in Web2 gaming, maybe there's some layoffs, there's some downsizing that are going on. So if you're interested in building your own game, right now is the perfect opportunity to actually grow a community and your game. So now we're coming towards the end of this, but I wanted to touch on if there's any upcoming features, partnerships, or initiatives you're working on that you'd like to share with the community.
Yeah, for sure. So for 2025, we have a few different interesting things that we are going to be doing. One is we are going to have a bunch of more different game jams. Like we saw the success that came out of the previous game jams that we did, and we want to continue doing that. Like we're sharing the resources that we gathered from it. We made a video, we made a blog post, and once we send it out to different blockchains or different protocols and say, hey, like this is a really good way to bring in quality things into your chain, and they seem to be quite interested. We have a few that are brewing right now. One of them with Indie.Fun, perhaps one with you guys. We have one with Neuronode and Avalanche, and we have a few others that we are still talking about. So that is one place in which we plan to really grow and have a lot of partnerships. Upcoming features, like I said, retailing games with fiat and crypto, and at the same time having that full loop where you would be able to use the gold points that you get to kind of knock down the price of the game. So that's going to be coming out, and we're going to have a whole lot of, traditional Web2 game publishers. Maybe this is going to be their first time dipping their feet into anything that's related to the blockchain, and it's a great time to be doing that. I hope the bull market stays because they're interested now, and hopefully that will keep them interested. Other initiatives that we'll be running to. So the fact that we're able to bring in those quality games really makes me think about being inspired by Indie.Fun, perhaps working more closely with them, or developing some sort of pipeline that leads game jams into that, or maybe bringing some aspects that are existing on itch.io into Discover Games. Just basically ways in which we could provide more value to game developers outside of the traditional tools that are out there. So we have a few things that are brewing, but that will be for the later half of 2025. For now, what we're going to be doing is try to really grow the retail functionality. I'm super, super excited for that.
Yeah, I think there's massive opportunities in that retail space. So I definitely would be interested in talking to you later about that. And for the game jams, I'm interested in seeing what games has come out of that. Like I said, I was mind blown by the first one. Those were really fun games to play. And I think you're taking the right approach. We're seeing the industry come around this idea of like indie development, going to market with your own community, with your own funds, with these point systems. And I think now's the time to prove that we can actually do this. So I'm excited to see the first couple of games within the indie space go onto platforms like this, like Indie.Fun, do their own fundraising, go to market without necessarily even a publisher, and build with their community. I think this is the year, and it's going to be exciting to see organizations like yours help people actually see that dream come true.
For sure, man. Definitely.
So now we're coming to the end of this, and where can our audience learn about Discover Games, Whalepass, maybe more about yourself, any other things you're working on, and how can they get involved with the next game jam?
Yeah, for sure. So we actually have two different handles on Twitter, one for Discover Games and one for Whalepass. Follow the one for Discover Games. And you know why? Because on a daily basis, we post 3 different games that are from the 70 that are being released on Steam. We are putting them there. We are tagging the developers or publishers of that game. And we have a bunch of different information about it as well. So you're going to get a whole lot if you follow the Discover Games um, Twitter account there. But also, we do the same thing on Discord. There's a Discord bot that is super similar to the free stuff Discord bot. Is the Discover Games Discord bot. If you install it on your server right now, it will give you that information on a daily basis. It will post a bunch of different games that are releasing on that day that you might never find out about otherwise. But soon we're actually going to integrate a bunch of different AI features into that bot that will help you get information about games that are within your own preference. So if you're super interested in strategy games, it will give you only the strategy games. So it's not being too noisy. It will only notify you about that and to see if that will also be interesting for your friend group on that Discord. So yeah, those are really great. We also have a Telegram bot. We have a Discord server. We're always active on our own intercom. We have, if you want to send us anything, you can email info@whalepass.gg. We'll be there, or Hayder at Discover Games. And yeah, happy to really chat with anybody or try to get something interesting going.
Nice. That's awesome. We didn't really touch too much on the Discord bot, but I think that's like a whole nother interesting space too, where I'm not only discovering games, games are discovering me in some sort of way.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come to talk to us here over at ChainSafe Gaming. I love all the stuff you're doing with indie game development things. We're in the same headspace, so it's great that we've been in constant contact, and I'm looking forward to an awesome year.
Likewise, man. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I am super excited for continuing to work with you guys and to see where we can take Web3 gaming over this year. Like it's a really exciting time to be in this space, and I think having people like you guys along our side is going to really take it to where we need it to be.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining the show, and I hope you have a great day. And we'll hop into the wrap up.
Sounds good, man. Awesome.
Thanks. I'll speak to you later.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you everyone for joining with our chat with Whalepass and Discover Games. If you haven't checked out Discover Games already, then hop into their Discord server, follow them on Twitter so that you can find out about new games happening every day. And if you're interested in indie game development, consider integrating Whalepass. It's a great way to reward your players with different points for them to grab those points, use them in a larger ecosystem to discover more games. It's a great opportunity, and now is the time to be an indie developer. So I want to thank you for attending this show, for watching. Follow us and engage with us so that you can stay in tune with our next couple of streams. Next week, we'll be actually discussing indie.fun with the CEO. So tune into that one, and I'll see you on the next one. I hope you have a great day.